Chapter 1. The new move. When Mark and his wife Emily moved into their new suburban home, they expected peace and quiet. Emily, a decorated Army veteran, had just returned from her final deployment, and Mark wanted nothing more than to give her the restful life she deserved. However, within hours of moving in, they encountered the neighborhood busybody, an HOA board member everyone secretly called Karen. With her clipboard and a constant look of disapproval, she hovered around the property, questioning why they hadn't immediately registered with the HOA. Mark tried to stay polite, but Emily's patience wore thin when Karen began lecturing them about the rules for lawn decorations and parking. Emily, who had faced combat zones, found the petty harassment laughable, but she had no idea Karen would escalate things. Chapter 2. The first clash came over something ridiculous. Emily parked her military vehicle in the driveway. Karen stormed over, waving the HOA handbook, declaring that military-style vehicles were an eyesore and not allowed in the neighborhood. Emily, calm but firm, told Karen she wasn't violating any state law and wouldn't be bullied. Karen's face turned red as she warned, "People like you need to follow OUR rules, or we'll have to take action." Mark tried to de-escalate, but Emily stood her ground, unshaken. Karen, fuming with frustration, muttered something about calling the authorities and stomped off, leaving them both baffled. Mark shrugged it off, thinking it was just empty threats, but Karen was just getting started. Chapter 3. Karen calls the cops the next evening. Emily was unloading boxes from the truck when two police cars pulled up, lights flashing. Karen, standing across the street with her arms crossed, smirked as if she had finally won. She had called the cops, claiming Emily was a suspicious person who didn't belong in the neighborhood. The officers approached cautiously, asking Emily for identification. Emily didn't flinch. She pulled out her military ID and handed it over. One officer's eyes widened, recognizing the rank and honors listed on her card. "Ma'am, thank you for your service," he said immediately, his tone shifting to respect. Karen, watching from the curb, froze in place, realizing she had just made a huge mistake. Chapter 4. The turning point. The officers turned to Karen, asking why she had made such a call. Karen, suddenly nervous, tried to backpedal, claiming she didn't know who this woman was and was just ensuring safety, but Emily, with her commanding presence, stepped forward. "I've served this country for over a decade," she said sharply. "I've defended people like you, and this is how you repay it. By calling the cops because you don't like how I park my vehicle." Karen stammered, unable to find words. The officers warned Karen about false reporting and left with a nod of respect to Emily. The neighborhood watched from their windows, and whispers about Karen's stunt began to spread. Chapter 5. Emily fights back. Karen's harassment didn't stop there. She began sending petty HOA fines for improper landscaping and unapproved garden items. Emily, however, wasn't one to back down. She started attending HOA meetings, armed with the HOA bylaws and a sharp tongue. Every time Karen tried to push a bogus rule, Emily called her out with facts and logic. The other neighbors, tired of Karen's reign of terror, began siding with Emily. Mark watched proudly as his wife, who once commanded soldiers, dismantled Karen's authority with the same precision she used in the military. Within weeks, the AOA's power dynamic shifted, and Karen's influence began to crumble. Chapter 6. Karen's defeat. The final straw came when Karen tried to fine Emily for flying the American flag in front of her house. Emily took the matter straight to the HOA board, citing federal law that protects the right to display the flag. The board, embarrassed by Karen's behavior, voted to remove her from her position. The neighborhood erupted in applause when the announcement was made. Karen, humiliated, stopped harassing Emily and disappeared from public view. Emily, on the other hand, became a quiet hero in the community, not just because of her military service, but because she stood up against a bully. For Mark and Emily, their new home finally felt like the peaceful place they had dreamed of, free from Karen's drama.